Okay.
Welcome to another episode of Get Your Fill, Financial Independence and Long Life, where we explore ways to achieve those two goals. People come on to help us who are so cool, so interesting. And I can already tell that Shannon Kuykendall is going to be one of those people because we've been yapping it up here for like 20 minutes before we even started the recording. So you are going to love her. She is the founder of Link Her In. She's a LinkedIn expert and she helps female founders stand out on the platform, which is not always that easy. She provides LinkedIn content creation and lead generation services. When it comes to LinkedIn, Shannon can teach you to fish or to fish for you, fish on your behalf. Either way, she has you covered. Shannon, welcome to Get Your Fill. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you, Christine, for having me. So I'm really this will be fun.
It,
I've enjoyed
it
my
will be fun.
conversation so far that wasn't recorded. So this is good.
I know exactly. Exactly. We should have started recording the minute we got on here. Let's let the editors do the work.
There you go.
So just before we started the recording, we were talking about how we're like soul sisters because you also had like this revelation and said, "Oh my God, how did I get to be this age?" And I didn't even realize that that was happening. And now I realize that if I ever want to stop working, which I may or may not want to do, but that I'm not necessarily set up for it. So I know, did your Link Her In come out of that journey?
Yeah. My business prior to that, I was still focused on LinkedIn, but I was called Up Automation, and I was working with men and women. And then the pandemic happened, and my clients basically were like, I'm scared. I don't know what the future looks like. And they pulled their contracts. And I was, so I go from 7 clients to 2. And that's a huge decrease in what my income was at the time.
Yeah.
And I happened to have a client who was like, there's a book out there called Profit First. And I'm like, okay, bought the book, but let it sit on the table for a while before I picked it up. And then we get further into the pandemic, and I'm like, well, I've got nothing else to do. So I started reading the book and was just my head exploded. And I immediately after reading it, implemented all of the strategies and started figuring out a way to save money. And during that process, I cleaned up my credit. I got myself out of the jam I was in. Like, my credit, because I've just recently moved, has gone back down, but I don't have anything in collections. The only ding is just that I've used more credit than I should. And for me, like, I'm okay with that because I paid it off once, I can pay it off again. So,
Yeah.
but it's just to be able to look at my accounts and see that I have money invested, I have money in savings. Like, I did everything he recommended doing in that book. And so it's literally saved my life. And I basically, anytime I bring on a new client, I ask them about it. Like, have you read this book? Or if I know of a new entrepreneur, have you read Profit First? So,
Yeah. Yeah, because it's very difficult for entrepreneurs to even think about that point, right? You just continue to put money back into the business and back in and back in and back in, and you're never taking it out. And then you just, and you know what I find that I think is one of the problems of that is that when you know that you can't pay off all your bills, what's one more charge?
yeah,
Why not just charge something else? Because what difference does it make, right? I'm not going to be able to
already.
meet my expenses anyway, so I'll just get this thing or buy this thing or whatever. And then money doesn't have any sort of meaning because it's just another number on a piece of paper and it's never going to be positive.
Yeah. And it's kind of scary. I mean, especially as you get older. Entrepreneurs don't have necessarily the same safeguards in place as somebody who's going to a job or, working, trading time for money.
Right.
It's a very different life of an entrepreneur, and we have to balance and juggle so many different things. And when we first start out, we're not always thinking about retirement or the future. And I know that I wasn't. And as I'm getting older, I'm thinking about, like, do I want to be doing this in 5 years? Do I want to be doing this in 10 years? I've already been doing it for 18 plus. Like, how much more of it is in me? But I love what I do. So, I could still be working.
Well, but the great thing is that you won't have to take clients who you don't connect with, right? You're not going to have to work with people who don't share your vision. You're not going to have to try to fit people like, oh, I need this money, so I'm going to work with this person who's a complete jerk. You can just say, hey, you know, Here's somebody else who you might really appreciate working with because it's not me.
Saying no gets a lot easier when you know you've got money in the bank that's going to, because for me it was like I need to know that at least 3 to 6 months out, if I lose a client right now, or if that client that says they're going to start working with me right now doesn't come through, that my rent is paid, my bills are paid, like all of the things are taken care of. And the biggest thing is that I'm not running out of money to run my business. I
Yeah,
think that was the other thing. I see entrepreneurs come in and they're bringing the money that's coming in from their business is going directly into their personal bank accounts. And that was the thing that I did when I first started out. That's a big no no. Like, that is the fastest way to screw yourself up, and your financial future if you're doing that. Like, you've got to keep them separated.
definitely. Well,
The
then,
roller
yeah,
coaster, the feast or famine roller coaster is what
yeah,
I call it.
exactly. So LinkedIn, to me, it's a place where I feel extremely invisible. Are there what are some ways? Like, I feel like I'm putting out, I mean, okay, not consistently, but I feel like I'm putting out pretty good content. And it just seems to go unloved and unappreciated. So are there like what do you do with your clients? Like, what are some ways that people can sort of differentiate themselves on LinkedIn?
So the first and foremost is the consistency, because it doesn't happen overnight. If you're just doing a post like, okay, I'll throw up a post this month, and then 2 months later you're throwing up another post, it's easy to get defeated, and you're not going to see the kind of traction that you want to see, or in the engagement you want to see. So it's really about getting consistent. Like, I'm going to post. So if you only want to post once a week, pick your day and be consistent, and
Yeah.
then be persistent with it. Over time, that consistency will turn into engagement. All right. It's like a system. You've got to keep the system, you've got to keep the cogs moving in the system. But when you stop, the whole system stops. All right. And so it does take time to build up. A lot of people will post every day. You don't need to post every day. And besides that, your content's going to get really old and stale if you're posting every day.
It
Um,
can't be interesting every day, at least I
yeah,
can't.
and you should be using a combination of storytelling, like telling personal stories about yourself. Throw in the promotional every now and again. But mostly it's just relating, you know, things like you're in real estate investing. So it's about writing about your experience in real estate investing.
Yeah.
If you are a fix and flipper, like your before and afters, share those. But again, maybe if you're only posting 1 week, then you've only got one fix and flip to share that month, but you've got three other opportunities, or possibly four other opportunities to share a story. What was the struggle behind this particular house? Like, you could create a theme, to make it easy for you. And LinkedIn now has a schedule button. So if you're someone who's super busy, hit the schedule button and schedule your post. There is a caveat there, because it's called post and ghost, and LinkedIn doesn't like that. So there's a 90-minute window that you could get away with only being there for about 10 to 15 minutes, if that makes sense. So if you're posting something, ideally, you do want to stick around and take a look in the feed, engage with other posts, create it, make a comment, like. LinkedIn likes that. It shows that you're engaged. And what that means is they're going to serve your post to more people. So
Hmm.
that's
So
one of the
I
ways.
yeah, interesting. I've talked to some other folks about LinkedIn, and I want to get your opinion on followers and friends. Like, it's not friends, I guess it's just followers, right? How many people you
Followers
follow.
and connections. Yeah.
Yeah, so should you be going for numbers or quality, quality or quantity, or what do you feel?
So I tell people to treat their LinkedIn account as a CRM, so a customer relationship management tool. All right.
Yeah.
You're going to get a ton of people inviting you to connect. All right. Only accept invitations from people that are your ideal prospect, somebody that you could potentially work with or partner with in the future. Think of everybody as a potential lead or a prospect. If you accept every connection between Tom, Dick, and Harry, you're messing up the algorithm in LinkedIn that is presenting your content to people. You want your content to be seen by your target audience, not by somebody who's not relevant to you. Now, when it comes to followers, you can have as many followers as you want. I encourage the followers, but when it comes to connections, be very, very picky.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's yeah. And I've written posts about that too, as far as like don't accept every connection. And there are other people out there that are like, accept every connection. It's a numbers game. And it's like, to me, that's somebody who's spouting an old LinkedIn philosophy. Because back in the day that was true. And
Mm.
I've watched LinkedIn change many times over the years, from when I just had a profile up that I wasn't using back in like the early 2000s to now, where I know all of the ins and outs and what LinkedIn has to offer. And I can tell you also that if you pay for LinkedIn, if you upgrade your LinkedIn to a paid membership, you're going to get a lot more bang for your buck. You're going to get a lot more targeted when it comes to your audience. Your posts are going to get seen by a lot more people within your feed and your connections, as well as your followers. Um, they're just going to basically, they're going to put a lot of attention to that, and they're not going to necessarily bite the hand that feeds them. So you just get a lot more visibility. And
Yeah.
they're also trying to pull away from the viral stuff. Whereas like Instagram and other platforms, they love the viral. LinkedIn, believe it or not, does not love the viral. So they do, even though you still see it, but that is something that they're trying to work on. So
Mm.
trying to give everybody who's posting an even playing field. LinkedIn has about 7 billion users, and there's only 6 to 7% who are actually posting content regularly. So there's a
Wow.
lot of room to be seen and heard. You just have to play the game, and consistency and persistent. Like, you just put it on your schedule. It's got to be you. It's got to be part of that system. So
What do you think about the live LinkedIn Live? Is that a good way to get people to connect?
the LinkedIn events are great ways. I see a lot of people doing lead generation that way. You can post an event, and then everybody that comes to that event, you can use that. All those attendees would become leads for you as you're hosting the event. But for somebody like me who does lead generation, you can actually attend those events. And then LinkedIn gives the ability to message each person in those events.
Ooh,
So
interesting.
it's a great lead gen tool as an attendee and as somebody who's hosting the event. So it's a great way. Same with LinkedIn. It's kind of like Hangout. It was like a Hangout, but it's just your voice. I can't think of what the name of the app was because it's been a couple years. Um, but they also have that option where you listen in on a conversation that's happening. So I
Are you
haven't played
thinking like
around with
Clubhouse or something?
Clubhouse. Thank you. That's so, yeah, it's exactly like Clubhouse, but for LinkedIn. So I haven't played around with that. I've heard a lot of people that really like it. When I did Clubhouse, I didn't think, for me, it just wasn't like, I didn't get that much from it. So it's just not my bread and butter. But anybody else who wants to take advantage of it, again, it's another great resource from LinkedIn.
Yeah, Clubhouse. I can't do Clubhouse because I don't have because I have an Android. So we're expelled from Clubhouse, or at least we were when it first started, and I don't really hear about it anymore.
I don't hear about it, and I don't even know if it still exists, but I know that by the time, so it was really popular with iOS users, so Apple users. And then I did hear at one point they were bringing in the Android users. And then all you would hear is, oh, it's gone to hell. Like, pardon my language.
Those damn Android users.
Yeah. Like, but the thing was, is it was becoming inundated anyway. It was, as with all platforms, there is always going to be an element of nastiness,
Mm.
who don't have integrity, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's too bad.
So, but you just got to do your thing. Excuse me.
So when you're because I've never this I'm going to just show you right out straight how naive I am about and how ignorant I am about
We
LinkedIn.
do 1 minute.
Yep.
Sorry.
Okay.
Now, this we can edit out.
Yes, we can.
You get that tickle in your throat,
I
and
know.
then a hot flash.
Yeah, great. Perfect.
Welcome to womanhood.
I know, right? Me too. Ugh. I, I take dance lessons, and sometimes I'll be dancing with somebody, and I mean, you just like your whole body goes red, and you're sweating, and you just think this person, you just be like, "What's going on? Are you going to be all right?" No one's ever said to me, but I've had people look at me a little sideways, especially younger people, like, "What the hell's wrong with this one?"
I'm getting ready to spontaneously combust, is what's
Right,
happening.
exactly. But don't worry.
My own personal summer. I've heard so many great lines. I'm having my own personal summer right
Yeah, exactly. I love that one.
now. Okay, I think we're okay. Okay.
So in my complete naivete and ignorance about LinkedIn, when you um so are you just kind of like putting out great stuff and then people just spontaneously decide, "Hey, this person's putting out such great stuff. I want to be their client." I mean, how do you actually go from being being someone who's adding a lot of value to actually being someone who's making um who's creating clients or who making those kind of connections?
it's it's going to come with the consistency of putting out content and making sure that your content is varied. Because it doesn't happen overnight. I mean, it definitely didn't for me. And for some of my clients who go from not posting on LinkedIn to posting, it doesn't happen overnight. There are things called pods. So there are people that create social media pods. You just have to be careful with them. LinkedIn doesn't particularly like pods, but they are really effective when you're trying to get noticed because each engagement to your post that someone from the pod will do, it's sort of like a bullhorn in a way because that person does a reaction. They don't even necessarily have to comment, and their following is going to see that, you know.
Right.
And so you've got all of this sort of outside. It's like a web. So, but it just comes down to being consistent. And I usually tell people do it for 3 to 4 months, get really consistent, and then see what happens. And you will start to see more engagement. People that are following you, they may not engage right away, but if they see that you're putting out some really good stuff, they're going to start to engage. They're not going to be able to ignore it. But a pod can help in a small way to help kind of boost that performance.
So let's talk a little bit more about pods. First of all, please explain them for people who have never heard of a pod before.
So, a pod is a group of people on any social media platforms, and they all agree to support each other's content. So, I was in a pod of about 10 people, and every time I posted, I would go take my link from LinkedIn and I would put it in a WhatsApp. Because that's the thing is you do not want the pod, no engaging with people in the pod on the particular platform. Like, hey, pod, I posted, like, don't do that.
Yeah.
Have a separate channel like WhatsApp or email, and have them go in. And it's a reciprocity thing. So if you don't post that day, you don't, then you don't have to go and engage with other people's content. But if you do post that day, make sure that you're going and engaging with other people's content. So it's all reciprocity. But yeah, it's typically a group of 10 to 15 people, sometimes 20, that all agree to support each other's content by reacting and leaving a comment. Because what that does is it boosts the algorithm and it gets more eyes onto your content. And I do get clients from that, or I do get leads, I should say, that have seen my content and that will reach out through DM and be like, hey, can we set up a time for a chat? I really like what you're doing. Like, I really like the content you just posted. So,
Yeah.
and you'll also, like with LinkedIn especially, you'll get people who will want to connect with you by saying how much they liked your content. Remember my previous statement. Do not accept every invitation to connect. If you like my content, that's fantastic. But if you're not an ideal prospect for me, I'm not going to accept your connection, but you're more than fine to follow me. So I
Does it
know that might
matter?
sound terrible, but you
No,
know,
it's not. I mean, you're just being intentional about building your relationships. Just like if you were at a party and, and somebody starts talking to you, you're like, you're not my ideal client. I'm not gonna, or you're not somebody I want to be
you're not
friends with.
giving me
So
the right vibes.
yeah, you give me like nasty vibes. I'm leaving. So does it matter who is in your pod? And what I mean by that is like if their followers are going to see it, is it best to have people who are in like a similar line of work or who where their followers would be a natural fit for you? Like there's a synergy there.
So with LinkedIn, because of the follower and connection lineup that kind of webs out, it doesn't, and you're going to get mixed messages here from other people. Some people say everybody should be in the same industry um, because of the algorithm. The pod that I've been in, not one of us. There was actually the person who had the pod was a LinkedIn expert, and then I was a LinkedIn expert. And I joined the pod because I wanted more traction on my content. And so, but everybody else, they were all coaches, or all of them were coaches. And some of them had just become authors, but they were in varying different industries. But I felt like they were complementing the content that I was writing. So, and it's ideal if there is some form of relationship with the people in the pod, that, like, for instance, the pod that I was in, we had our separate where we would post our link and everybody'd go engage, but then we had a chat place as well that was separate from that, so that we could continue to encourage each other. Like, LinkedIn has these AI uh, kind of prompts where you can come in and be the professional in the room and give your sound advice and do a write up. They'll call them LinkedIn top voices. And so, like in that particular pod that I was in, they were all trying to get their name. They wanted the badge, the top voices badge. For me, I don't spend time doing that. I don't find value in it because it doesn't last. Like, it's something you have to consistently do. And for me, the things that pay the bills are writing content and active lead generation. So being a top voice on LinkedIn, that doesn't garner any attention for me getting clients.
What are the what are the metrics, I guess? Maybe this isn't really a fair question because I'm sure it depends on a zillion things, but when you're like, how many connections would I have to have, or what's like an ideal number for me to actually start to see that people are reaching out to me and wanting to be part of my, whatever, part of my
So
life?
definitely above the 500 mark.
Okay.
But when you get into the 1,000, 2,000, you'll start to see a little bit of activity. I'm up in the 10,000s now. So I see a lot more, and I don't have to be in a pod. So I'm getting it naturally now, which is great. The pod was just the boost.
Yeah.
But one of the tools on LinkedIn is called creator mode. And what creator mode does is it allows you to see the analytics of how your posts are performing. And one of the things that LinkedIn does is it will show you the number of impressions, meaning this is how many people they've served your content to within the feed.
Yeah.
They've been playing around with this number. So, but ideally, what you want to see is you want to see that number up in the hundreds, if not the thousands, because the higher the number, the more times people have seen your content. So that's really what you're looking at when it comes to the metrics of how your content is performing.
Great. So when you start working with a new company or a new woman, a new a new human who wants to be to start, I mean, I'm assuming that the majority of people who you work with are wanting to get actual clients from LinkedIn. That's why they're paying you.
Yeah, I work mostly with women in tech. So the tech industry is really like an area that I love because I'm a technical person. I'm a bit of a nerd. So ideally, that's what I'm looking for. And the women that come to me are real busy. They know that they need to be marketing. They know LinkedIn is the place because it's a B2B place. Um, and they just need someone to handle that piece for them. So I have the done for you. And then there are those that are like, I'm still too small. I think I want to try this by myself. And so I offer one-on-one training. So it's basically it's hand holding. And the reason I don't offer group training is because when somebody leaves a training with me, I want them to have actionable steps, and I want to make sure that there is a system in place that they can manage without my help. And then eventually it'll get to the point where they're like, okay, I can now afford to bring you in full time or on a regular contract so that you can handle it for me. But if I were to do a group, there might only be two people that'll leave that group and actually have a system in place, whereas everybody else paid and didn't get their money's worth because they didn't get things implemented. And for me, I want to make sure that stuff's done. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's really important.
Well, that's actually a question that I had. When you start working with someone, how you're tailoring that their solution to them. So how what kinds of questions do you ask people? What kinds of things do you need to understand up front?
So when they first book a call with me, one of my questions is are you looking for fractional CMO support? Are you looking for LinkedIn training? Are you looking for done for you? Or is this just a networking call? All right. I want to be in the right frame of mind, but I also, because for me, when I know what their needs are, just in, that little bit, then I can tailor my questions. So, which is usually what's happening in your business right now? Why did you reach out to me? What is the need that you have? And for me, it's all about the conversation. I am not like a Grant Cardone high super sales, like the guy's the master at it, but that's not I want to have a conversation, and I always like to ask questions because I want them to do all of the talking. All right. My job is to listen and pull that information from them. And it's from that conversation that I can be like, I can help you. No, I can't help you. I actually had to say no to somebody the other day because they weren't financially in the place for me to help them yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, and that's a sad place, right? Because it takes money to make money, right? You can't,
it does. It
you're not going to
does.
get the traction because you don't have the money to get it. Like,
Well, and what people don't realize that so the first part of the marketing puzzle is bringing awareness to your product or service. What people don't realize is that is the most expensive piece of marketing. Everything else, not that expensive. All right. But bringing awareness, it's going to cost you. So you also have to think of it in terms as this is an investment into your business. Bringing somebody like me in, whether I'm training you to do it or I'm doing it for you, is an investment in the growth of your business. All right. And all of what I do is tailored towards the organization that I'm working with, because I have I work with a company that helps manufacturers with their software and their advisors. So they're not looking for sales. They're
Yeah.
looking to engage the manufacturing community so that they can produce better content. So that's what the lead gen piece, that automation that I set up, that's what the campaign is targeted for, is to basically engage and start conversations with other people in manufacturing.
Yeah.
So it's really up to the client. What do they want to use it for? Do they want more speaking gigs? Do they want to be on more podcasts? Those are things that I can help them with LinkedIn on.
Yeah. Yeah. I've noticed that for some people, it seems like LinkedIn is becoming that they're using it like Facebook. I mean, how much of your personal life should be on there?
A little bit, because storytelling is such a huge part of it. People do business with people. So, I think sharing lessons, life lessons, things like that, things that you've learned, things that are going to apply to your business and business growth. So you definitely, you want to share those stories, but like saying I'm going to go get a cup of coffee with my dog right now. No, that doesn't belong on LinkedIn and nobody cares. It's not Facebook. I know what people are seeing, that they might think it's become like Facebook because they see a lot of personal photos.
Yeah.
The personal photo, the selfie, is only to garner attention. And the reason people keep doing it is because it works. Plain and simple. And I'm one of those that was like really resistant to showing my face in pictures. Like I just didn't want to do it. But lucky for me, I have been an avid traveler over the years and I have a ton of travel pictures with me in them. And so sometimes the picture I post will really resonate. Like I posted a picture with me and a chicken on my shoulder or a rooster on my shoulder that got a lot of attention. Plus, the content was good. So,
Yeah, you got to keep them once the
yeah,
rooster grabs them. You got
the,
to
the
keep.
rooster grabbed him, the content kept him. So, but yeah, it's use the selfie. And I do test out images every once in a while just to see what the algorithm is doing. Videos are great for LinkedIn. LinkedIn loves videos. And when you have creator mode turned on, you get to see the number of views and where they were at, how much of the video did they see. So, like, if you're doing podcasts and you get those little video clips that the host sends you, they're great for LinkedIn. So,
And is that still sort of underutilized on LinkedIn?
it went through a time, like, I want to say in like 2021, video was everywhere. And then it settled down, and now we just see all the pictures of people. Video is coming back. There are, like, on LinkedIn, when you go to post, it will ask for media. So you've got several different media options. You can do a poll, you can share a PDF in slide format. Those work really, really well. There's video, and then there's the image piece. Um, but yeah, the slides, like if you're doing an explanation and there's some people that have like 30 slides on their post. Like me personally, I'm not going to go through 30 slides. Like you've lost me after five.
Yeah.
So to me, it's keep it short. I mean, think about your audience. I think that's the big thing. Think about your audience and what your audience wants. They only have so much time. They're not on LinkedIn all day long. So going through a 30-page slide deck is like not at top of mind. Although you may get a lot of engagement for it, you might also be losing people because of it too. So short and sweet, the best is the best.
So with your business, what caused you or what motivated you to want to work just specifically for women, with women?
The transition to focusing mostly on women happened this year. One, I was still completely shocked how underrepresented we were. The other thing that really got me was I am a woman-owned business, and I tried to get a Chase $5,000 business card, one that was separate from my credit, and I couldn't. And I had good credit. And so that was really frustrating for me. And so I started seeing more females posting about having the similar kind of experience. The other thing is I've worked with plenty of men in the past. My issues with working with men mostly come down to they want to do the set it and forget it. They can only focus on one thing at a time. And there was a lack of organization. Now, on me, what I will put on myself is I should have done a better job of weeding them out during my sales process. But one of our conversations when we first started talking was the finding ourselves at an age and not having money saved and going like, and so at that point in time, I had to take on clients. I couldn't say no. Being in the position that I am now, I now have the capacity to say, no, you're not a good fit right now.
Yeah.
So, and that is the difference between having money saved and doing the feast or famine roller coaster.
Which do you like better?
I like having money in the bank. I don't know about you, but I get a kick out of looking at my investments and seeing how much money I made today. So
Yeah, that's
even if
fun.
it's a little bit, it's still money.
Yeah, I like to see the up arrow for sure.
Me too.
Like, hey,
Absolutely.
it's a good day today. We got all these up arrows. We don't see that every day, unfortunately, but
No, no. I'll just look. Okay, I don't need to look any further.
they said the people who make the most money are the ones who look at their portfolio the least.
They have the sit and wait. But I mean, there's a gal on, and I don't watch the Real Housewives of whatever that franchise, but there is a woman on one of them, and she got asked, what's the first thing you do every morning when you wake up? And she's all, I look at my portfolio. And so it's like, okay, she's doing really, really well for herself. I'm gonna take up that practice.
Yeah.
So
As long as you don't sell based on what you see, right? Then you're good.
no, hodl. Hodl all the way.
Yeah,
I
but no, it's
also
a
have
great.
some Bitcoin.
Well, you just, when you look at that, it sets you up in a feeling of abundance. Like, wow, look where I'm at. Wow, look at this is awesome. Look, I've got money. I've got, instead of you've got mail, like you've got money.
It's freedom.
Assets.
Money is freedom. That's what it
Exactly.
is to me. It is, I get to design the life that I want to live, not the one that my parents wanted for me, not the one my daughter wants for me, me. And that's how I view, that's how important money is to me. It's also about serving my clients. Money's a byproduct of that. So when my clients succeed, I succeed. I've done something good for them. So
Yeah, that feels good. It's
yes.
awesome. So, do you think people who have already had a LinkedIn account for years, are they at a disadvantage to somebody who's setting up a new account? Is there any advantage to people who are just getting started?
So if you're just getting started, the setback for you is you've got to build up new connections, and you need to really get up to 500 connections. So that's going to hold you back because it's probably going to take anywhere from 3 to 6 months to get you up to 500 connections. That'll be the only time that I would say accept every connection. All right. And that is simply because you just want to get to that 500 mark. Um,
And
but
that's
other
something on
than
LinkedIn. That's like something LinkedIn cares about.
they do in the way that they're serving your content to other people. So if you have an account that has been rusting for years and years, like maybe you set up a LinkedIn account back when they first started, but you haven't been back to it, go back to it, clean it up, optimize your profile, build a company page, start looking around, like make yourself stand out, and then start writing content on the regular. And then you'll see within 3 to 6 months that you're going to start to get that engagement. And I know when I say 3 to 6 months, that sounds like forever, but you know what? Rome wasn't built in a day. So,
Mm.
and
Well, it's already
you're
going to
playing
be
the long game.
Thanksgiving, right? I mean, like it's practically the end of the year, and it's that. If you
It's
think if you think 6 months is a long time, it's like going by like 90 miles an hour for me. I don't
yeah,
know.
it does go by really fast. So
Yeah.
you have to think in terms of you're playing the long game, when it comes to business. It just doesn't happen overnight unless you're somebody with a budget for paid ads. All right. Paid ads will give you the instantaneous results that you're looking for, but you need to have even more money to invest in that than you would if you just hired somebody like me to manage it for you for the next 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
So
Are there, you get these notifications, it's so and so's work anniversary and it's so and so's whatever. Is there any point to like sending them a note and saying, "Oh, congratulations on your work anniversary,"
me personally, no. Um, my least favorite is my birthday.
Yeah.
Happy birthday. And I've got over 10,000 people. So I get
Oh
hundreds
no.
of people like, please LinkedIn, do away with that.
Yeah.
Because I don't need the happy birthday on LinkedIn. If I was on Facebook, great, but on LinkedIn, I don't need it. The the congrats it's like a reciprocity thing. So maybe if I see somebody who's got a promotion at an organization that I might want to try and get my foot into, I would. So it's strategy. Just think strategy. Like, what's it going to benefit? Um, doing that announcement is actually really great when it comes to LinkedIn impressions, whether somebody engages with you or not. It's a great way to let people know, like, hey, I'm here on LinkedIn and I'm going to be present more, kind of a thing. So if and when you decide, okay, I'm going to start promoting myself on LinkedIn, or I'm going to start generating content, the first thing you should do once you've optimized your LinkedIn profile and created a company page is to do one of those promotions that they offer of just got hired, or re-promote your website. Even if you've had your website for 10 years, re-promote it. I've done that a couple times, if I had a lag time in between posting, just to make sure that when I start posting regularly again, I show up.
Yeah. So when you say optimize your page, what kinds of things do you do to optimize your page?
So optimizing your page is there's a background header behind your profile picture. So what I say is create a branded image. There's a tool called Canva. It's wonderful. And they have all kinds of templates to help you do that. But create a branded image and then put your call to action or a tagline in it. Also make sure it's branded so your logo is there. Your profile picture, you need your face front and center, not to the side, not with your wife or your girlfriend, like whatever, like your face, your picture, and from like here up, just your face. So
Professional
um,
photo, right? Not like some
professional,
blurry mess.
like mine's not super professional, but it's just a picture that I like and I'm facing forward. So, your hair, my hair's done, my glasses are on, like, yeah. Um, and then underneath that, so there's a box underneath where your profile picture is in your banner. You've got your first and last name. What I tell people to do is put your first and last name in the first name box. And then in the last name box, put your title. And what I mean by title is not founder of, not CEO of, but think keywords. All right. So if you're a lead generation specialist, put lead generation. If you are a branding expert, put branding expert. Whatever that is, put that there. And then right under that, there's a headline section that LinkedIn typically will default as founder of so and so business. You can go in and change that and put in your own. I think you get about 220 characters. And so what I always do is I always ask a question that addresses a pain point and then say reach out to link current, some form of a call to action. Basically, your LinkedIn profile, if you are looking for leads and looking for more business for your brand or for your business, you got to think of your LinkedIn profile as an extension of your website. You're not looking for a job, so it's not a resume. You
Yeah.
are looking for clients. You are looking for business. You have a website and you also have a LinkedIn profile. So it's just an extension.
Excellent. Wow, this is such great information. I could pump you all day for information, but that's not very nice. So, and actually, I'm looking at the time, and our time is unfortunately running down. So, I want to ask you, what do you wish I would have asked you? What have we not touched on that you want to make sure people know and understand?
We covered quite a bit. Because we got content strategy, probably lead generation a little bit. Some people want to know more about lead generation and what that looks like.
Okay.
Is it manual? Is it automated? It's for me, what I do for my clients, it's both. There's an automation side of it to handle redundancies. And then the manual piece of it is there's an actual human going in and managing replies and making and tagging. I do have a tip or a little hack for people who do lead generation, but mostly keep it manual. So if you're in your message area on LinkedIn and you're trying to manage, like keep track of people, use hashtags. So typically what you would do is, so say you're trying to promote a webinar and you have 100 people that you've been talking to back and forth. At the end of the conversation or one of the replies, put a hashtag and maybe webinar or whatever your little code word for it is,
Yeah.
so that when you go back into the message center and you want to follow up, all you need to do is put the hashtag and the code word, and they'll come up.
That's a
So
great idea.
that's a hack that has I've proven to be very, very valuable in trying to organize. The other thing is make sure you're keeping track of your hashtags spreadsheet.
Otherwise, that last hack, not so helpful.
It's not so helpful. Exactly. What did I call it? Why can't I find it?
Oh, yeah, Shannon, I've like opened up every single flipping conversation looking for somebody because I can't remember their name anymore. And you're like, who was that?
Hashtag. It's probably the only way LinkedIn really uses hashtags because they missed the boat on the hashtag party. So if you're thinking you're going to post content and put a bunch of hashtags with it, that will actually decrease your impressions. It will not benefit you in any way, shape, or form. LinkedIn jumped on the hashtag bandwagon way too late. Most people aren't even using hashtags anymore on LinkedIn. So they really don't
Oh,
serve
good
that
to
much
know.
purpose. Yeah.
Another gem.
Yes.
Shannon, you're a delight. I love talking with you. How can people reach
Thank you,
out to you if they're
Christine.
like, I'm totally failing at LinkedIn, but I know that that's where my clients are out there somewhere and I'm cyber stalking them and I'm just not getting the connections. How can they find you?
So best way to find me is to go to my website. It's called linkherin.com. And there'll be some information about the services that I offer, as well as several buttons to schedule a call, and we can talk about whatever's happening within your business. I also, during my calls, I like to provide a lot of value. So even if you decide you're not ready to work with me or hire me, you're going to walk away with some really great tips and things that you can put in place. So, because one of the things I do is I do research on the person that's reached out to me so that I have something ready to go about their profile during that conversation. So,
Yeah, which I'm sure is extremely valuable to just look at it and say, okay, here's
here's some things
some
that keep
easy stuff that you're failing at.
exactly.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shannon, for being with us today.
Thank you, Christine. I really enjoyed myself. It's
Me
been great
too.
to talk to you.
Yeah, me too. Where do you live? Where are you in the world?
I am in Washington State, actually about 8 miles from Portland, Oregon. So I live right on it's Vancouver, Washington. But if I tell people Vancouver,
They think
they
British
think
Columbia.
Canada, and I'm at the opposite end. So I just tell people I'm in Portland, Oregon, but I'm in Washington State.
So we probably can't have lunch anytime soon, but maybe if you're ever on the East Coast, look me up
I would
and I'll
love
do
that.
the same. Awesome.
Well, and I would love to stay in touch as well. So
Yes,
this was a lot of
absolutely.
fun.
Absolutely. So thank you, listener, for listening. If you have not, unless you've been living under a rock for the last 20 years, you probably have a LinkedIn page, and I would be willing to bet that it's not perfect. So why not just check out linkerin.com and find Shannon's advice? And you might feel like, oh, you know what? This is really great advice. She really knows her stuff. I think I want to work with her. And while you're
Great.
at it, forward it to a friend who is probably in their same situation, or maybe two or three or four friends, because this episode is going to be extremely valuable for those people. And when you're done doing that, have a fantastic week, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.